I'm going to show you how to use the LibreText calculator to conduct a hypothesis test about a proportion. So in this case, we're told that 17% of all college students volunteer their time. So that's the proportion of students in the population, that's P equal 0.17. Is the percentage of college students who are volunteers smaller for students receiving financial aid? So we select 362 people who receive financial aid, and of them, 58 volunteer their time. What can be concluded at the 0.05 level of significance? So let's write down a few more things. N is 362. That's the sample size. The number of successes, in this case, success would be volunteers your time, of those 362 is 58, and our significance level is 0.05. And we do not need this for the calculator, but P hat, the proportion of our sample that volunteers, is 58 over 362. And if we put that in our calculator, we get 0.160. So it doesn't seem too much different than 17%. Now, we want to use, since this is a proportion, a z-test for population proportion. And the requirements are that NP should be greater than or equal to 5, and NQ greater than or equal to 5. And those are both true. So let's go ahead and state H0 and HA. The null hypothesis always contains the equality. So in this case, the null hypothesis is that P equals 0.17. And we're checking to see if that percentage is smaller for students receiving financial aid. So our HA is that P is less than 0.17. Since HA, the inequality, points to the left, this is a left-tailed test. Those are the things we need to put into our calculator. So let's come over here to the list of calculators from LibreText and select hypothesis test for a proportion right here. And now we're going to enter what we know. N is 362. X, the number of successes, is 58. The claimed proportion is 0.17. So that's what I'm calling P on my notes. And this is a left-tailed test, so make sure that the less than is checked and hit calculate. And there we get the test statistic and the p-value. So let's record those over here. The formula for test statistic I have here, but we don't need that because we're having a calculator compute that for us. And that turns out to be, to 3 decimals, negative 0.495. And the p-value to 4 decimals is 0.3102. So if this is our normal distribution curve, our test statistic is here, negative 0.495, and the p-value is the area in this tail to the left of that. And so that's actually a fairly large p-value, 0.3102. And so that means that if we selected another 362 students and did this whole test again, we would get, that is a probability that we would get a test statistic as extreme as the one we got. So the rule is if P is low, the null must go. In this case, P is not low. P is 0.3102, and that's actually greater than our significance level, which is 0.05. So that means we're going to fail to reject H0. There's just not enough evidence to say that the proportion of students that volunteer their time that receive financial aid is less than the population proportion. So that's our final conclusion. The data suggests that the population proportion is not significantly lower than 17% at the 0.05 significance level, so there's insufficient evidence to conclude that the percentage of financial aid recipients who volunteer their time is lower than 17%. I hope that helps.